Whenever trust fails, people look for alternatives, and alternatives can also be new monetary systems. And this is, at the end of the day, what I have been advocating for the last 13 years, that people need to get sovereignty back over their money and over their assets. Bermuda is truly a paradise. It is a paradise from all different dimensions, but at the end of the day, it's a small island, and of course, if we zoom out, we see that it's embedded in a larger world, in a larger universe, that is not necessarily always like a paradise. So we are surrounded in a world full of madness, and that brings me to today's main topic. Chapter 1, a world losing stability. So I'm inviting you on the next couple of slides to follow my thoughts a little bit, because I would like to highlight a couple of facts that are pointing into this kind of narrative, and I would like to invite you not just to make up your own questions or to start questioning a little bit the status quo, but to also challenge it. So what do I mean by that? And let's look a little bit into the numbers. So a first fact that I noticed on my journey of preparing those slides was global defense budgets. So global defense budgets have been rising in around 100 countries or over 100 countries simultaneously over the last few years. Global budgets for defense are at all-time highs, around $3 trillion, 1/3 of it allocated towards the US. At the same time, a lot of nations are acting more unilaterally than multilaterally. Large constructs like the NATO are being challenged, at least by the US president, almost on a daily basis. So we are in a very specific situation, which should not come at a complete surprise, because if you look at the famous quote from famous politician and diplomat from the US, Henry Kissinger, America doesn't have permanent friends or allies, it just has interests. And I think the current administration is living this more than ever. And I think that's an interesting fact to highlight here. Another one is that sovereignty is being challenged on almost a daily basis, on a global basis. It's not too long ago until we started, or when we started actually into the new year, and I guess you can all remember, it was like a nice calm weekend, and then all of a sudden the US military conducted operation in Venezuela, capturing the more or less elected president there and took him hostage and back to the US. While all of this started with, I would say, rather rational arguments, for example, fighting the drug trafficking and drug smuggling into the US, all of a sudden that whole narrative turned completely in a different direction, and all of a sudden was about oil. So it's our oil, it always belonged to us, complete different story. We had a similar situation with Greenland slightly afterwards, where it was about the minerals, and so on, the list continues. So what we're seeing today in today's universe is that sovereignty as a legal construct is more turning into a power reality. Wherever the larger or whoever has the bigger guns, the bigger nation, the stronger nation is taking whatever they want or what they think belongs to them. And of course, if this is the new kind of normal between governments and how they appreciate each other and how they respect each other, you can ask yourself, how much is your own sovereignty worth, of course. It continues. Of course, your sovereignty is worth something as long as it isn't. And the list, of course, historically is full of examples where that exactly was not the case. And we can go back to the US in the early 30s, where gold, for example, was made illegal. It was confiscated from the US government. If people did not comply with it, they had to go to jail or pay huge fines, in today's terms, several $100,000. But we can also go into more present time. We had economic crisis like in Latin America. We had something similar like in Europe. And the pattern is always the same. You have money, for example, on your bank account, but all of a sudden you cannot access it anymore. You might be able to withdraw $200 on a daily basis or per week from your bank account, but you cannot access all of your money. You cannot transfer all of your money outside unless you have gigantic FX conversion fees or so on. So you're limited to access your own money. You're not directly sovereign in that sense. Which leads me to the second topic of today, the stress test of a system. So when we talk about the government and the state in that sense, they're not just having a history and some sort of a reputation of impacting private wealth in that sense, but they're also extremely leveraged on the other side. And that's also an interesting fact. So if you look at global debt nowadays in most Western countries, that's around 100% of GDP, annual GDP. In the more advanced economies, it goes up to 130% and even above. So we are at record high debt levels, and debt itself has been rising by around 50% in the last decade. So just let that sink in for a moment. 50% in the last decade, and that's huge. So what is the value of debt? And the question also exists if debt is honored or debt is ever going to be paid back. So those are all really important questions, especially if you talk about like the monetary supply of funds in general. And the governments are not directly de-risking themselves, they're just rolling over debt. So they're postponing actually the impact, and they're moving it from sovereign balance sheets onto private households, onto savers, but also onto future generations. So if we go toward the future generations, and look a little bit at the facts on a demographic level, I think also the former idea of our pension system is being challenged. So previously we had a lot of like working class people, of workers that paid for the elderly people, the retired class. At the moment that ratio is 3 to 1, so 3 working class people are paying for 1 retired person. By the year 2050 that is on average reduced to 2 for 1. So that has a huge impact, of course, on society, and it challenges our pension system, and that's just pure numbers on a demographic level. It's also getting interesting if we look at saving, for example. Also the concept of saving is being challenged. Because if I'm now a 20-year-old and I start my career, by the way, a little bit older, but if I'm a 20-year-old and I start my career now and start to put money on the side, and I try to do it for the next like 45 years, if I do it in Switzerland, for example, where I get 0 on my savings account, and by the way, in Europe it's the same, and I blend in a 2% inflation rate, this is eroding away my purchasing power by around 60%. If I do it with 4%, I'm already above 80%. And that's quite an impressive number, and it challenges the concept of saving as we know it, of course, from the past. Let's blend in a topic that is omnipresent, and that's AI. AI is, of course, going to massively impact all of this, and I'm not sure how many in here are really aware of the exponential impact that this will have on society in general. So at the moment, growth rates are not like really picking up, but AI on the other side is dislocating a lot of people. It's like replacing a lot of people, and a lot of jobs will become completely obsolete just by the pure fact of AI. So AI is coming in at a light speed. It's very disruptive, and it's difficult to actually understand what will be the impact in 3, 5, and 10 years. And I know there is reports and statistics out there saying that a lot of jobs will be created, but this is not really the reality that I see when I talk to any of my entrepreneur friends or colleagues. I don't know a single company that is actually integrating AI to hire more people in the future. Maybe temporarily, but certainly not long term. So that brings me to the next chapter, the collapse of trust. So when we combine all those different elements together, we are living in a fiat universe that is based on trust. Trust into governments, into centralized institutions, into banks, and so forth. It's based on trust that debt is being honored and that purchasing power is remaining somewhat stable over time. But if you look at the facts that I just mentioned before, we have record high debt levels and we have record low production levels at the end of the day, or growth levels. So if we combine those two elements together and look a little bit into the history, whenever that was the case, we can go back to the Weimar Republic and more recent examples, of course, like the Latin American crisis, European crisis, and so forth. Usually the system resets itself through either inflation, through financial repression, or through default in general. That's just pure facts, and that's the history. But why I'm not that negative here, there is also another option, and that's innovation. So whenever trust fails, people look for alternatives, and alternatives can also be new monetary systems. And this is, at the end of the day, what I have been advocating for the last 13 years, that people need to get sovereignty back over their money and over their assets. And that is not just the fact if you're like an asset manager or a family office or a private individual. You cannot truly manage your funds and your wealth if you do not have access to those assets, if you rely on a third-party institution, on a centralized institution. So you need to have control and sovereignty over your money in order to actually control your money. It's a simple fact. And this is, of course, the reality now, because blockchain technology, as we all know, is exactly offering this since over 15 years. And with the adoption now also of real-world assets being brought on those new rails, we're also going to see true mass adoption of this technology. So technology that is actually representing a new monetary architecture that is based on decentralization, that is based on trustless system, that is based on integration, interoperability, and that is open basically to everyone to use, much more efficient, of course, of what we are known from the traditional financial infrastructure. So that brings me to the final chapter, which is the choice. So if we combine again what I just mentioned before, I truly believe we're living in a very unhealthy environment, in a very unsustainable environment where debt and inflation is eroding away basically purchasing power. Debt is at all-time highs, productivity and output is at all-time lows, so to say. And that's, of course, very dangerous. On the other side, we have this beautiful new economy, blockchain technology as a new possibility, of course, and I truly believe that that gives us new alternatives and a way to opt out of the traditional financial status quo and opt into actually a future where we control those assets ourselves. So the question is not really, do we have options? We do have them, but the question is really, do we understand the magnitude and the importance of those decisions for our private wealth, for our private future, and what are we going to do about it? So if you once in a while have similar thoughts and you ask yourself the same kind of questions, I'm of course happy to continue those conversations, and I would love to hear back from you. And that is exactly what we're doing actually at Bitcoin Suisse, and that's what we see as our journey. So we are here for our clients in order to not just support them through the jungle of digital assets, but of course also to help them protect their assets into the future. And this is also why I'm extremely happy to announce here today that this morning Bitcoin Suisse have received its asset management license from the BMA here in Bermuda. So a big thank you to a big thank you at that stage, of course, for the BMA, but also for the government of Bermuda for giving us the trust, for welcoming us here on the island. Of course, also towards Penrose, Salt, that have been supporting us as well, organizing this conference, also Apex. We were always welcomed here on the island, and I really appreciate the warm welcome and the support from all of you, and looking forward to get live here on the island and start doing business with all of you. Thank you very much. Thank you.